Welcome to 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. This is Chris Bowling. I have my special guest and business partner, Mr. Byer.
Yes, Chris Byer, good to see you again. So, Chris, we are now in the first quarter, and if you are an employer or HR professional, you might have just finished open enrollment and renewal, and we're going to talk about those same things again in first quarter. So why are we bringing up benefit education in the first quarter for employers that probably just finished open enrollment and renewal?
I could tell you HR departments are probably tired of listening to us, right, Chris? And they want to put those books up on the shelf and probably not think about them for a certain period of time. But now is actually the time that we feel it's the right time to re-educate and maybe get a little bit more granular into some of the options that are really available through your carrier. So our vision, Chris, has always been open enrollment, focus on only what is changing, because you really got their attention for less than 5 minutes. After that, they kind of stop listening.
Yeah.
So in that first quarter, this is where we really dive into what's out there that your carrier partners have available to you and your employees that maybe you didn't have enough time to really discuss. So when you think about, all of your ancillary coverages, I have a feeling that you probably have some kind of EAP program. Now is a great time to really get on the phone with that carrier and figure out, hey, I really want to understand what are all the services available for my employees when it comes to our actual EAP. I would say the same thing that would be with either your fully insured medical carrier or your third-party administrator if you're self-funded. What Chris and I have seen really happen in about the last 18 months is there's so much technology going into our industry right now. There's apps, there's wellness, there's, once again, EAP. What we've seen is that a lot of those insurance carriers are starting to add those features for free because they're trying to bring more and more value to their customers. So a good example, we have a carrier that has added Hinge, Livongo, and Wonder all for free.
Yes.
And many employers don't even know it's there. And again, this isn't, to talk badly about your consultant. We're dealing with so much during renewal. This is that time of the year of now we set back and say, okay, let's talk about all these new features that have been hitting the market.
Yeah.
You might have access to for free. Now let's spend this quarter and let's pick one or two things and let's actually educate those employees on those.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Chris, because the blur of open enrollment, you're only able to talk with the employee. Maybe you get an opportunity to have a spouse or partner come in, but this would be a great time to have a meeting where maybe you record the video on what new enhancements are there, push that out to your employees so it can get into the household. But when an employee is only thinking about how's my premium and benefits changing, they're not thinking about the other things in the benefit guide. And we're sharing this with our clients just as well, because we know that this gets lost in the mix. So I think just understanding what services are there, very important. We've also, talked a lot about the spectrum of care in prior discussions. Chris and I, we spend a lot of time with our employer groups, helping employees know where to go for care when they're sick or they're injured, doing the best to avoid the wrong type of care. We don't want employees and their families going to the emergency room because they're sick, but unfortunately, a lot of the emergency rooms are open all the time. It's easy access, but you're going to be sitting there waiting while they're taking care of trauma level patients. So this is a great time in first quarter to reintroduce your virtual visit app, to talk about what's happening in your community with urgent care and how that differs from convenient care, how that differs from your primary care doctor, and really what does that care journey look like from your primary care physician helping you through your wellness journey and your preventative journey. And then what do you do when you're sick and you can't get into your doctor? Where do you go so that you as a family don't get hit with unexpected bills? We're not clogging up the healthcare system, and the health plan will stay more viable because those claims aren't hitting when they didn't need to be. So I think understanding that spectrum of care and really just helping educate participants on what it means when you show your ID card at a provider, what actually happens. This is a great time for that. So I know your third one, Chris, you were going to talk a little bit about was, as we go through understanding how that carrier provides different things, like I think this is the other piece of it too, is you have so many tools and resources built into the carrier to help employees make those decisions. It's not just the extra value, it's How do I understand how to search my carrier app? How do I understand to search the network? Just some of those basics.
Completely agree. So we had one of our employers, we literally brought employees in groups of 20, and we had up on the screen, and we told them, bring your insurance card and bring a
Yes.
form of payment. And we actually had them download Teledoc, Doctors on Demand, whatever app, you're using, get them in front of you, have them load it on their phone, because when you are sick and you've got 104-degree temp, the last thing you're going to want to do is spend 15 minutes finding this stuff.
Yes.
And if you're like me, my IQ drops 50% when I have to download an app and figure out how to make it work.
Yes.
And now
Do it
you're
ahead of time.
do it ahead of time. So yes, I just be creative, make it fun. We had treats, we had, things to eat, anything you could do to try to re-engage that employee, because probably, Chris, one of the biggest things we saw happen in 2023, did we have a single self-funded client not take their Teledoc back to zero?
Yeah, most did. Making sure that the
Make it
copay
free.
plans are at zero. And
Right.
as we sit right now recording this, the IRS is still allowing a zero cost virtual visit and HSA eligibility. And that is a huge win if you're able to amend your plan. Not all fully insured carriers are
Right.
following suit yet, but yes, that was a big change that we made. But now just reminding employees that, hey, you've got this at no cost. This should be your first line of defense when you don't feel well.
Totally.
And speaking of HSAs, I think that's the last one we wanted to talk about today. So many employers have put in a health savings account eligible plan, maybe to help with some affordability, maybe to give some extra options for types of care. But as the IRS has continued to raise the annual maximum, almost $8,500 for a family, over $4,000 for an individual that you can put in tax free. There's a lot of HSA providers that are allowing families to invest those dollars in the stock market or invest them like they would a mutual fund. You're now looking at a secondary retirement vehicle. You may max out your 401k. You may have taken care of all of your personal investments. And now if you're on that HSA account, how do you know how to use that account, not just for healthcare expenses, but to plan for your retirement, to really use that as one more vehicle of financial planning? But this is a time to look at that. We're through open enrollment. Hopefully people have made their elections for how much they want to put aside in their HSA, but do they really understand as participants what the value of that account is, how to use it? This is a great time as an HR team to help educate on that, bring in the HSA provider, and really just put on a lesson on financial wellness in the first quarter. I think that will pay dividends for your employees and their families because they're going to understand now what they've signed up for.
Love it. I have no doubt we're going to do something in the future talking about pharmacy, right? Because that's where HSAs always scare me, is that you've got $1,000 drug, you don't have $1,000 in your HSA, you don't have $1,000 available on your credit card, and you're not getting that drug. And you and I are going to spend some more time that could really help HR departments understand that there are programs out there where you can get these high cost drugs for free. And it just radically opens up how many people can now afford an HSA. We're not worried about, the $100, doctor's office. We worry about the $1,000 script, and that employee doesn't have the money, so therefore they don't take their meds. And now we've got a big claim sitting out there. So yeah, looking forward to really talking about that the next time that we get together.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you, Chris, just for walking through what we think is best first quarter education tips for HR. Thinking through, making that employees know what their carriers provide, what services are there, understanding where to go for care and how it impacts their cost. And then third, using this as an opportunity to educate on HSA and financial wellness. Even though we're just through open enrollment and it's the new quarter, this is the perfect time to work on newsletters, virtual sessions, lunch and learn, something along those lines. So hopefully this has been helpful as we've been sharing what we're talking to our clients about.
Yeah.
Thanks, CB.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody.